You may think every drop of rain falling from the sky or each glass of water you drink is brand new, but it has always been here and is a part of the water cycle. At its most basic, the water cycle is how water continuously moves from the ground to the atmosphere and back again. As it moves through this cycle, it changes forms. Water is the only substance that naturally exists in 3 states on Earth: solid, liquid, and gas. Over 96% of total global water is in the ocean, so let's start there. Energy from the sun causes water on the surface to evaporate into water vapor, a gas. This invisible vapor rises into the atmosphere where the air is colder and condenses into clouds. Air currents move these clouds all around the Earth. Water drops form in clouds, and the drops then return to the ocean or land as precipitation. Let's say this time it's snow. The snow will fall to the ground and eventually melts back into a liquid and runs off into a lake or river, which flows back into the ocean, where it starts the process again.
Recap again, giant earthquake into tsunami into nuclear meltdown in Fukushima. And people said immediately after that, scientists, environmental reporters, they said this stuff is going to get in the air, the radiation is going to get into the water, it's going to hit the driftwood that's swirling around in the ocean, and eventually it might, who knows, actually hit the coast of the United States. Has that day arrived?
That day arrived fairly quickly after those triple meltdowns began. Now, you're not going to get that out of our government. We've had a lot of wishful thinking, and I understand it. It's pretty grim stuff. But this is the worst man-made environmental disaster in history. It makes Chernobyl look like a dinner mint compared to a buffet of bad news coming out of Fukushima.
Okay. How do we know that it has arrived, though? What sort of testing is being done? Surely the government must have scientists out there pulling samples from everywhere and running a battery of tests?
I wish. The government did do special testing for a while. They did pick up radionuclides that are absolutely related to a melted down reactor. Okay. Then they, 10 days before the Japanese admitted that there were 3 full uncontrolled meltdowns, 10 days before that, the United States Environmental Protection Agency said, we're not going to test anymore because nothing can possibly get here.
Normally there's trace amounts of radiation in rainwater, but apparently we had a downpour a couple weeks back that was off the charts.
It was off the charts. It was the highest radiation that we picked up in the last 13 months since the meltdowns began. What we found is in January, University of California, Davis came out with a report that said when radioactive fuel has water poured on it, like in Fukushima, where they're trying to keep it cool.
Right, just trying to cool it down, pouring gallons and gallons and gallons of ocean water on it.
Millions and millions of gallons of seawater, fresh water. What happens to that water? UC Davis found out that the water turns to peroxide. The radiation gets trapped in so-called buckyballs, which are like geodesic domes, capture up to about 60 molecules of different types of uranium in these buckyballs. They're very light, they're very mobile, and we've been picking up what we think are buckyballs here, even without rain in Los Angeles.
So what does that mean? It's getting into the mist, or it's getting into the...
You hit it. It's getting into the sea mist. There have been numerous studies out of Europe and the United Kingdom that have measured radiation in ocean water and seawater and then measured the same radiation up to 200 miles inland. So what we did was we took these 2 studies. This is what's happening with the radiation in Japan. This is how it can move across the Pacific, all on our site. And this is how it can come inland. Give you an example, we measured some things that we'll check out just today, and the numbers are out of this world.
The cooling creates another problem because water that goes into the core comes out contaminated with radioactive material. It flows out through broken pipes and cracks, and it can eventually reach the ocean. TEPCO is also planning on pumping the contaminated water into temporary storage tanks, and at least trying to process some of it to clean it up. Up until now, people on the site have just been focused on keeping these reactors under control. It's been a 24-hour job, and they haven't had much of an opportunity to get beyond that. But ultimately, they're going to have to figure out a way to get the fuel out and take the reactors apart. At the moment, nobody seems to have an answer for how to do this,